Hi. We've been making a mangrove swamp here for like, I don't know, a couple months now. um, and we're finally to the last kind of tree that I want to make in this area. And they're all going to be in this like little hill thing that we have back here. Um, but like I said, it's the last kind of tree. We left it for last for a reason, is because I had no idea what I was going to do with this type of tree. It's kind of difficult, and to explain that, I've come over here to this tree. This is a red mangrove. We have three different types that we're going to make, and we've made two so far. This is a red mangrove. You can see it has kind of like these roots holding it up out of the water. So you have different like fence posts and stairs and slabs and different mangrove roots kind of all dotted around. There's some other examples like that one over there of red mangroves. But that's not the only kind of tree. There's also black mangroves. And you can see with these, we have roots sticking up out of the ground, like just vertically. These are called new metaphors, and that's kind of like the characteristic of the black mangrove. And it makes it pretty easy to kind of identify the two different types. We have a red mangrove here with the prop roots, and we have a black mangrove here with the new metaphors. Pretty easy, right? Not so easy. The white mangrove makes everything a lot more difficult. So white mangroves are kind of similar to black and red mangroves, but they don't really have prop roots or new metaphors sometimes. Sometimes they have both. How are we gonna identify this tree? Like, if it has both, it's both a black mangrove and a red mangrove, and like, it's difficult. I don't like it. We're gonna do something else. So, what exactly are we going to do? Well, that's what we're gonna try and find out. Actually, I'm gonna go grab some blocks, be back, probably sleep because it's getting nighttime, and I'll explain what I have planned. All right. To start, I think what we're going to do is just make a mangrove tree without any roots, and that's pretty easy. I think honestly, like you just kind of do a trunk and then some branches, and like it kind of just works out. Mangrove trees are kind of one of the easier types of trees that I've personally made, and you can see I kind of have a bit of practice, so I think I know what I'm doing. We're gonna start somewhere like around here, I think. Alright, we have a tree. Now it's just time for roots. So, what are we doing? What's my idea? Well, let me tell you, I guess. So, this tree definitely, you can see, needs some kind of root structure. It doesn't really look like it's tied in to the terrain or anything like these other ones do. So, we're gonna need like something here. And white mangroves, like I've said before, kind of have a mix of different root structures in real life. They have new metaphors, they have prop roots. And I kind of want to tie into that a little bit, but I don't want to just have a mix of both, because I think that would make all the trees in the whole swamp a whole lot less identifiable from a glance, right? You have kind of a clear difference between black mangroves and red mangroves right now, so like having it mixed together would kind of just not look right, I think. So we're going to try something different. And what we're going to try and do is a little weird, I think. So I'm gonna like kind of do it while I'm talking here. Basically, it's this. uh, it's a root structure that only like offers little hints of little like aspects of both. So you have little new metaphors maybe scattered about, just like one or two, and you have a little prop root. And I don't think it'll be exactly the same on every tree or anything like that. We might not have like any new metaphors on some of them, and we might like have little like prop root branches kind of things going on in different places. Each tree is definitely going to be unique still, but basically the idea is just that you have little like hints of structures rather than like a full-fledged like, you know, I guess root structure completely like around a tree. Like in the red and black mangroves. So I think this will work. It'll definitely tie it into the terrain. It looks good and it looks unique. It doesn't look like a black mangrove or a red mangrove. So I think this is what we're going to do. And we only have like, I don't know, 10 or so trees to do in this area. And then we're going to be done with all the trees in the swamp, which is kind of crazy. So while we're building all the trees here, I wanted to kind of fill you guys in on the plans for the rest of this season. And I don't think I've really talked about this much, but I started making the plans for this season before last season ended. I was already talking with Jim and stuff, and I was like talking about how like there was a build idea that I had that I wanted to try out. And in between seasons, I started like really building in creative, and I started like really making plans for this build. And it's coming along pretty interestingly. I really like this idea. It's very different than like my normal kind of build style. So my normal build style is pretty realistic. I think like the mangrove swamp is pretty realistic. The town I built last season was pretty realistic. This one is very much a kind of sci-fi fantasy kind of build. It's not realistic like really at all. I mean, there are certain elements that kind of make it feel a little bit more realistic, but really it's not. So I mean, it's kind of like a interesting little project that I'm doing just because of that, but there's even more layers to it. So another thing I mentioned last season was that I wanted to do a little bit more in terms of shading and lighting and kind of getting into the detail work of like gradients and like making things feel like they have shadows and depth and stuff. And I kind of did that last season. I even mentioned it last season that there was a little bit of shading in some of the builds, and it was kind of just the beginnings of that. They weren't very good gradients. It wasn't very like unified across the build. It was just something that like I kind of started throwing together towards the end of the season mostly, and I kind of wanted to get better at it. And this build really is like me getting better at it, you know? And from what I've done so far, I've really like put a lot of effort into these gradients and shading and coloring everything, and like it's pretty interesting. Well, you'll see it eventually, of course, so I won't like really spoil any of it, but it's been really fun doing this kind of in the background mostly. But yeah, we'll get there I guess when we get there. First of all, we have to finish the mangrove swamp. So we still have things to do here. There's a couple things that I've already mentioned before, like wanting to do birds in the trees and like crocodiles, and have like different firefly bushes and grass and mud and dirt all like textured and looking nice on the ground. But the mangrove swamp actually wasn't planned before the season started. I kind of just happened to end up wanting to do that. It started out just with the initial fishing hut. Basically everybody on the server was all fishing like on day one, and they had all built like little fishing huts as starting bases, and so they kind of like wanted me to build my own fishing hut, so I built mine, and I built a mangrove tree around it because we were in an ocean, and I thought that would kind of be like an interesting little thing with like salt water and a tie-in to the swamps that I wanted to build and still want to build as part of the big project that we have planned. And it started out as just that one tree, and then after a while of building redstone, because the original plan for the season was just to like do this big project, so I needed farms and resources. But after doing redstone for a while, I was like, I need to mix in other things into my episode, and I need to, just for like my own mental sake, do something a little bit like more creative on the server. And so I was like, well, I don't have anything planned. There's a mangrove tree here. I'll just expand it into a swamp. And so that's like the whole reason why we ended up doing the mangrove swamp. And it's turned into a pretty interesting and fun project. Like I said, none of it was really planned to begin with, but like as I started building, I started getting different ideas, like the crocodiles and the birds. I did research about like how these trees grow, where they grow, why they grow, like all this different stuff that I just kind of usually do as part of at least my realistic builds. And yeah, here we are, almost done with that project. So I think over the next few episodes, what we're going to end up doing is the detail work for the rest of the swamp, getting all the like grass and crocodiles and everything. We'll probably need a couple farms that we haven't built yet. We'll start resource gathering for this big project, and then probably within a month, we're going to end up starting the big like project of this season. And well, it'll be fun for sure. It's a little intimidating to get started on that, but we'll get there, right? Yeah, about a month. That's kind of crazy to think about. I actually don't know the exact timeline. There might be a few things that throw that off. So like, don't take this as a promise of like, I'm going to start building in a month this new project, but like, for instance, I think the parrots for the trees might be a bit difficult to get, so that might throw us off by itself a week. And you never know. But yeah, I think we're getting to the point to where the season's like finally going to enter its second stage here, and I think that's really, really exciting. Alright, we finished all of the trees in the swamp. Like, all of them. There was only 7, honestly, like white mangroves to do today, but like, in the grand scheme of things, these are a lot. There's a lot of trees here. I guess we should probably like go down here, and so you can see all the different like root structures that we did down here for the white mangroves. You can kind of group all of these together into a white mangrove category that's separate from the like black mangrove category that we have going on. So I think this is pretty much exactly what we wanted. It's really nice down here. I don't think anybody's going to see this actually, because there's not even like a path or a road that I have planned to go through here. Like, if you go over here by the parrots, you have like the paths that are gonna like come through the swamp, and they go like in this direction. There's not one that goes through the white mangroves, so nobody's gonna see that. But it's still, I think, nice to have those little details. So now we're on to details. And I don't really know what to do. I mean, I have a pretty good idea of like what to do to like texture and like make all the muddy bits and like the grass and the crocodiles and the birds. But I'm gonna need a lot of resources, and I don't think that really is going to make a good ending to this episode. So I think I'm gonna end the episode here, actually. Next episode, we'll be back and finish at least a bit more of the swamp. We got, a bunch of texturing and stuff to do. But yeah, we'll do that some other time. Thank you guys all for watching. God bless.